I'm Kevin McDonald with Confluency Solutions. Welcome. We're going to start the first video in a series about how to optimize online visibility for your insurance agents. And even though this is the first video, we're going to start at the end, not the beginning. We're going to start with what search results look like. Why is that? So today, it's not just a bunch of text and links like we used to see in the past. There's lots of different kinds of search. There's local search, there's organic search, there's desktop search, there's mobile search. We have voice search with us today. We have different devices, right? We have phones. You get different intent that Google will try to measure when people are doing searches. And all of that results in radically different results for what might seem like very similar searches. And before we launch into how do I rank for insurance agent or business insurance or auto insurance, it's really important to know what kind of searches are going to be done, who's going to be searching, what is their intention. And there's lots of different ways to rank if you understand that. So with that in mind, let's start at the end, not the beginning. Let's take a look at my screen. Okay, so now I've got my screen up and running. Let me put my emergency reading spectacles on so I can see what I wanted to show you. The series, of course, we're going to talk about anatomy of a SERP now, but here's the other ones in the video series. Local search, organic search, different topics really. Pay-per-click, email, social, and apps, another part of sort of internet visibility, online visibility. And then finally, when you get visibility, how do you make it pay off? How do you get leads? And that'll be the final one. In the series, if you are subscribed to our email or blog, you'll get notification when these other videos are produced and available. Otherwise, feel free to sign up so that we can send you a notification when they're out there. Okay, so back to this. Anatomy of a SERP, used the term several times at this point. Just an acronym, search engine results page. Sometimes that gets shortened to SRP, just search results page. And I think it's useful before we really jump into dissecting what did this look like, what are the different components, what do you need to do to make sure you show up when people are searching for insurance on the different parts of their journey. It's useful to take a look at where Google has been. So that first image over on the left is their logo from 1998 when Google's search engine first arrived on the scene. The next logo over to the right of that, just to the right, I think is from 2015. So you can see there's some changes there. And then we kind of fast forward to today, those logos that are just to the right of the center. Google is no longer just one thing, right? It's Google Drive, it's Google My Business, it's Chrome, it's Google Play, and a number of other things. And then the image is all the way over on the right. In fact, Google isn't any one thing. Google Search isn't the same thing on any given day. Those are all sort of whimsical logos that Google will show you as you go to the search page. And in fact, the search results are going to vary within the same day, maybe even within the same few minutes, depending on a number of different factors, which we'll look into here in just a moment. This is kind of what you used to get back in the day, 1998. If you didn't want to do a search on Google, that's what you saw. Pretty bare bones, pretty basic. Fast forward a little bit to 2017, or excuse me, 2007. I got my reading glasses on. You'd think I could read that. And it was just a bunch of text and links, blue links. And that's kind of what stayed with us for a long time. And I think conversations I've had with clients and other people, that's what sort of burned itself into our minds. That's what we think of when we think of Google search. And it's not like that anymore. So just a few years down the road from 2007, 2011, 5 years down the road, now we start to see a lot of other things show up in search results, images and video, right? Google's got different categories of results, and they're starting to show you different things depending on what you're looking for. And now if we fast forward to today, the fact is search results, search engine results pages vary by a lot of different factors. What device are you using, right? Laptop, tablet, desktop, whatever, phone. Where are you? And Google can tell, even when you're not using your phone where you have GPS, often Google will take a guess and they'll be right based on other information that's passed to them through your browser where you're located. And based on your location, you're going to see different results. What's your intent? Right? Are you shopping? Are you just kind of noodling around? Just a little bit curious. So Google's going to try and second guess what it is you're doing, what you really want. Time of day, your intent is going to change based on that. Google's going to make some assumptions about that. And then finally, personalization. So if you're logged into Google in particular, Google knows a lot about you. They know your search history, they know your travel patterns, they know a lot of scary stuff. And they're going to give you different results, different search results than somebody else is going to see because of that personalization. All right, so the fact of the matter is we're kind of moving to this era where it's artificial intelligence. It's not just keywords and throw a bunch of keywords in my metadata and throw a bunch of keywords on my page and get the right URL. It's not that anymore. There's so much more to search results. Google is increasingly using what we think of as artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, to guess what it is you want, to give you the best information based on what they think you're looking for. So let's dig into a search results page. So here we've done a search for insurance, pretty generic, but localized, Syracuse, New York. So number one, that's what shows up in the search bar. Number two, we have different categories of search. By default, Google is usually going to show you everything, right? If it's available. But depending on what we're searching for, it might be just news items, might be just images, it might be video, right? Number three on this screenshot gives us an idea how competitive this search term is. So Google has indexed almost 1 million pages based on this one search, 965,000. Number four, Google thinks this search has local intent. And when they do that, they'll show you a map. Where are you? What kinds of businesses are around you that might fulfill whatever it is you're looking for, whatever need for a product or service. Related to that, number five, you get the top 3 local businesses. This is local search. It's based on a local search algorithm, which is different from the organic algorithm, which is why we split those 2 videos into different parts. We'll talk about local, we'll talk about organic. How do you get in here? But you'll notice in here there's 3 people, sometimes called the snack pack, and there's star ratings that are pulled from their Google My Business profile. And finally, down on number 6, we're looking at organic search. Again, that kind of mostly text and blue links like we saw back in the 2007 screenshot, except there's a difference today. They're pulling in rich data snippets from other places. Google is getting star ratings for these Allstate agents that are here. There's some schema markup language on the page that tells Google, hey, there's a ranking and a star rating. If you want to pull this into search results, here it is. Google decides whether it wants to do that or not. The most you can do is put it there so they see it, right? But you might see that in line in search results as well as some other things. And then finally, at the bottom of this page, we have paid search. So at the bottom, which is a little bit unusual on this screenshot, typically you'll see paid results up at the top, right? Or maybe on the right, or maybe all 3 places. And that's pay-per-click, or Google AdWords is their program. And it's an auction. You pay for those keywords. That's a whole different category of how you get into search, which is why we cover that separately in another video as well on pay-per-click. So let's look at a slightly different search. We're getting a little bit more specific now. We've got best car insurance in Syracuse, New York. So you'll notice we have slightly different people showing up here in the local results than what we saw. Let's see who we had back here. So we had Donegan, Geico, and Delmonico. Those are the people that showed up in local. Now that I've narrowed it to, Insurance Syracuse, now that I've narrowed it to best car insurance, it's Donegan, Delmonico, and it's a new one, Ellis Moreland. Geico doesn't show up. I'm not sure what that tells you about what Google thinks about Geico, but they're not showing Geico in the local results for best car insurance, right? And then below that, we get into organic, and we've got an agent named Pat Best, whose good fortune it is to have that last name, and that's how they get into that search result in organic. Before I jump to branded, let me go and look at a couple other variations on that on my browser. So we've taken car insurance out of it now, and we just have best insurance, Syracuse, New York. Some of the same things now. Here's the paid search on this one. Progressive is showing up. And we've got, again, the same 3 people that showed up for best car insurance. There's Pat Best. The interesting thing now is we have this people also ask. So Google's going to sort of correlate, you search for this, but people who search for best car insurance or whatever we're searching for here also search for these things. And if I want to look at this, who's got the cheapest? So there's something that's pulled from Geico or from NerdWallet, excuse me, and it's Geico, good drivers, young drivers, right? Whatever. If I want to look at how much is very specific, how much is car insurance for a 17-year-old female? Well, there's something pulled there from the law dictionary, right? If I want to get into like what is it here? How much does it cost to insure a new driver, right? Why did my car insurance go up so much? These are all keywords. These are all search terms. So people may look at this and go, well, how much does your car insurance go down when you turn 25? Well, okay, there's some information there. I can look at that. I might be done with it. Or I might copy this and start my own search on this. The important thing is these are keywords that we might want to sort of optimize for and show up for that we hadn't really thought about because we're kind of stuck with this more generic. And now Google's giving us a clue and they're showing this to other people, right? So they may wander off that way. Let's look at a slightly different one. So best home insurance. I haven't localized it. Syracuse is out of it now. Just tell me about the best home insurance. Up at the top, the paid ads. Again, now there's 4 of them, right? That auction. And we have a direct answer here. This is called the knowledge graph. And you'll see this show up in different ways, usually a list or a short paragraph or a table. Does this answer your question directly? If we can save you time and give you the answer without you clicking on something and going somewhere else, that's what Google's going to do. So what they've done here is they've pulled in some data or some information from a Property Casualty 360 page. 15 home insurance companies ranked from worst to best. And I might click on that and might look at it, or I might be just satisfied with this. Again, if I scroll down, there's some other questions I might want to ask now that I've got my, right, I've been kind of conditioned here. And then if I look further, there's a whole bunch of places I can look at. Best and worst, Clark Howard, best, best, best. So one of the takeaways for this, besides the keywords we can find here, and maybe we want to get in this list, one of the takeaways is if you're quoting somebody with the company that shows up on the worst of list, a lot of people are going to know about that. Google is seeing a lot of best of this, best of that, best for things as mundane as paper clips and toothbrushes. So people are doing those searches, and you provide a search for somebody who's on the worst of list, kind of a problem. Something you might want to avoid, something you might want to talk to your carriers about. Whereas if you provide a quote for somebody who is on the best of list, it probably is going to improve your close ratio. A little bit of a takeaway there. The other thing that's worth noting here is you look at these, like this one here. This is Property Casualty 360. It's a website that has pretty high domain authority, something we'll talk about more when we talk about organic search. And you might be thinking to yourself, I could never get this position. I could never become the 0 position in search results. I could never be the knowledge graph. That's not true. We've seen our clients' information pulled from their web pages for different kinds of searches. The important thing is if you want to show up here, provide good information and also summarize that information in a short paragraph, a list, or a table, and you'll have some opportunity to show up in this 0 position here. Okay, so let's go back to where we were with the presentation. This is a different search, sometimes called a branded search or a name search. So instead of searching for best of or help me get a quote or whatever I might do, or a generic car insurance agent, whatever, now I'm looking for somebody. And we see a lot of this. Your name is going to show up in different places, even offline, billboard, business card, neighbor over the fence refers you, whatever, right? So if I do a search on your agency, or I do a search on this insurance agency, JP Perry Insurance number 1, what do I see? Well, number 2 on this annotation is a bunch of stuff that's pulled from their website, things that Google thinks you might want based on the name search. Maybe you want to contact this agency. Maybe you want to find somebody that works there. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about them, right? So they're going to show you things that are pulled from their web page. You want to dominate this page. You want this page to be all about you. You don't want anybody else's stuff sneaking in. So takeaway from this is you want to make sure there's things on your website that'll help populate this page when people are doing a branded search. And number 3 on this annotation, now we're starting to see some kind of social data returned here. Glassdoor is a employment review website, and then below that we have Yelp, and we have the star ratings that are pulled through from those other sites. Facebook is something we often see here in these results, and star ratings are pulled through from Facebook as well. Number 4, the knowledge card on the side, that's all information pulled from this insurance agency's Google My Business profile. So the takeaway here is make sure you update that, make sure you get the right category, make sure you make it look interesting, pictures of you, your staff, your building, whatever, you're out in the community helping people, right? Make sure your hours are there. When people rate you on Google Maps, those ratings will show up here as well. So now we've got 1, 2, 3 places where we see star ratings, 5 stars, 5 stars, 3 stars, right? So that has a huge bearing on what people do next. Will they call you? Will they click through to your website? That star rating has a big impact on those behaviors. Okay, so that's branded search. Hopefully we've kind of given you the idea that search isn't any one thing anymore, to just sort of slavishly look at how do we rank for insurance or whatever. We want to be on page 1. Not that simple, right? There's a number of different things you need to do to rank, to be there, to be visible, and hopefully looking at these search results pages give you some idea of that. So important takeaways, things to note: search results are personalized. Somebody else doing the same search as you sitting right next to you is probably going to see different results than you see. They contain different elements depending on what the search is and what's available. Maybe videos get returned, right? Maybe the knowledge card shows up for your agency. Maybe a 0 position knowledge graph shows up with an answer to a question. Contains different elements. They're long gone are the days where they were text only. It's vastly shaped by intent and device and location and time of day, those kinds of things. And Google's getting smarter and smarter about that. And we're starting to see kind of a different kind of search creep in. We're not going to talk about this with this series. It's a little bit new still. We'll give you some information toward the end, but people search differently on smart speakers, and Google returns results differently if somebody's doing a search with voice, whether it's a smart speaker or Google Assistant or Siri or whatever, right? So again, we're going to put a wrap on this one, Anatomy of SERP. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos in the series if you're not signed up to get notification when these are available. Let us know. Hope this was useful to you, and thanks for sitting through it.